A-To-Z Reseller Podcast, episode 35. How's it going, John?
Hey, pretty good, man. Yourself?
Yeah, good. So I'm Jamie. This is John. We both attempt to resell everybody's local garbage on the internet to some success. So stick around for mediocre jokes. We might talk about cats at some point. What else do we? Sometimes we talk about baseball, but we're supposed to be talking about reselling. But we try to mix it up when we can.
I'll probably been talking about dogs today.
Yeah. You're dog sitting today, right?
That's right. Yeah, started a new dog sitting stay for about a week and a half. So
Yeah. Nice. That's a pretty good extra, so for you, even reselling is a side gig for extra money. The dog sitting is a side gig for extra money, right? You've got a full-time job. Um, it's just another layer to your reselling, right? Well, not to your reselling, to your side hustle, I suppose.
yeah, well, it's good. Like obviously, I wouldn't be able to do this if I, wasn't able to work from home. But one of the perks of being able to work from home is I can work from anywhere with an internet connection, really. So yeah, sometimes I stay in other areas, meaning I get to do like sourcing in other areas that I don't normally get to check out. Make money from hanging out with dogs and still do the reselling thing. So yeah, it's like a little bit of a triple threat. I love it.
Nice. Yeah, it was a different beast for me when I was working full time, only because I was doing a lot like what you were doing, what you're probably doing now. I was just feeding all of my reselling money into my debt and trying to clear it off to basically reset what I could do going forward, right? Whether that was why I chose to go full time into reselling, but you could certainly just choose to invest that money, save it, go on vacations. When you hit that point where you're debt free or minimal debt, there's always going to be some kind of debt you're going to carry because that's just the way life is these days. But I kind of missed that though, having just seen all that extra money and not really having to use that money to pay your bills. It was pretty fun. It was a little more exciting than trying to figure out if you have enough sometimes.
Yeah, well, we're definitely like you mentioned right now. It's all going towards debt, getting that paid off, and then as soon as the credit cards are paid down and stuff like that, it's just going to be all the extra on the mortgage and get the house paid off like as soon as possible. My goal is to have the house paid off in under 10 years. It'll probably be about 8 or 9 years. And yeah, I want to be like completely debt free, except like you say, those little things pop up sometimes. Eventually, I'll need to get another car or something. But yeah, I'd like to be in that position before I'm 50, where I literally just have my monthly expenses and that's it.
Yeah, it's certainly like anything. Like if you're willing to hustle and do it, there's certainly a lot of opportunities online to make money for sure. It doesn't have to be. There's reselling's just one of the ones I think that there's like very little stopping anybody from doing it, right?
I'm not pretty enough for OnlyFans, so I guess reselling.
Yeah, me neither. No foot finder, no OnlyFans. But I can sell your used blender for some extra cash in my pocket.
Right, that's right.
So yeah, so the good news is I didn't have to use my patented Men in Black mine erase tool and erase last week's podcast. The bad news is we're living about a week into a Canada Post strike.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I've seen a lot of people, just in my Facebook feed and then just in my actual real life, just really having a hard time with this. Like, it's amazing. I don't really think about it too much because most of what actually gets mailed to me is just junk. Outside of being a reseller, like the mail isn't that important to me, I don't find. But yeah, it's had a significant impact on a lot of people. And obviously, yeah, I've had to look into a different option for shipping, which we'll get into. But yeah, we're almost a week in. I don't know how long this is going to go. What do you have any predictions on it? Like anything? I mean, you'd think they want to try to wrap this up as soon as possible with the holidays coming, but
Yeah, I feel like I don't know what the legality is of this, but I feel like the government might step in before cooler heads prevail because I don't know. I've tried not to follow it too much because there's nothing I can do about it. So I try not to drive myself crazy about it. And for me, the only thing that's really holding up is my Poshmark Canada stuff, right? Everything else I can find another way. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it doesn't seem good. and I did. Somebody had said they changed like the main negotiator or something for Canada, like the union was switched out or something like that. So that can't be good if there's like, I don't know. I don't know enough about it to, I'd be guessing. I don't know if there was like turmoil between, union and their leader, their self, or what the issue was. But yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell you how long it's going to be. Hopefully not long, but
Yeah, hopefully not long, but it does seem like they've got quite the bridge to gap.
yes.
Yeah, but yeah, well, you mentioned Poshmark. Yeah, same deal. That's the only thing that's being held up on my end. And but I did make a Poshmark sale today, and it hasn't completely stopped. I'm still getting the notifications like final shipment notice and blah blah blah, even though Poshmark has said they were going to extend times, and everybody's aware of it. For whatever reason, they haven't turned off that automated system to let you know that you got to ship this now.
So
Anyway,
that's so stupid. Yeah, that's annoying. And
yeah,
as far as I can see, the last thing they posted was November 15th.
the day it started.
Yeah, saying like just reach out to people, be transparent, understand that things that everybody has to wait essentially.
Yeah,
But then then to go ahead, I've got the same thing, final notice to ship this and blah blah blah. It's like luckily
yeah,
the people everybody except for one person has contacted me and said, hey, they know what's going on and they're willing to wait. The first sale that I made that was sort of like right in a weird transition, that person's never reached back out to me whatsoever.
okay. So I mean, chances are they're aware of it, but if they don't like reach out and ask to cancel,
Yeah.
then I mean, I guess just ship it when it opens back up. I mean, they've already paid, so now I forget what I was going to say. Something about Poshmark. Oh crap! I've lost my train of thought.
Uh-oh.
You know what happened? I heard a plane going by, and my brain said, "Ooh, a plane," and and then I completely forgot what I was going to talk about. Oh, I know what it was. I'm not actually packing any of those Poshmark orders though, like unless until it's time to go, because they could cancel. They could technically cancel, and while most of it would just go in poly mailers anyway, I honestly don't want to have to tear apart a poly bag and then like either have to reuse one that might be half torn or have to tape it up or something. So I've got all my Poshmark orders pulled and set aside, but I'm not doing anything with them yet because, I mean, the reality is someone could be living under a rock and not realize there's a strike and be like, oh, I don't want to wait for that. So,
Yeah. So my local Canada Post is open, but they're not accepting packages. I know Poshmark did this. I think in their banner that they threw up day 1 too, it said you could potentially get your items scanned in, and they would have to be held at Canada Post. I know my Canada Post. I asked, and they said they were told not to.
yeah.
My buddy Derek messaged me today and asked me, "Hey, did you? What about like Shoppers Drug Mart and places like that?" And I'm like, "I don't know." So on my way home today, I stopped at Shoppers Drug Mart, and I didn't even get to ask somebody because there's like a Canada Post little kiosk in there, right? I didn't even get to ask somebody. There's just a piece of paper posted that says, "Do not leave your parcels here. We're not going to scan or accept your parcels. If you leave them here, they will be disposed of."
Wow.
Whoa. Okay. So
That's pretty clear.
yeah. Yep. So I'm like, well, I don't need to talk to anybody because I'm pretty sure you wouldn't want to leave stuff here. But I'm the same boat as you. I haven't packed anything up. Haven't even pulled the orders. I think I've just written them down and delisted them on eBay and Depop or wherever else they might be listed, just so I don't double sell it. Which
Yeah.
I guess if I would make the sale on eBay, I'd rather just ship it and get the money. But at the same time, I don't really want to have to cancel Poshmark orders for somebody who's willing to wait as well. So I don't know.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. So something that somebody has, or something that I've been asked a lot over this last couple of days since I made a video about using Stallion Express, and since I've gone down that path, is whether or not, and we've talked about it before, is whether or not I'm going to take this opportunity to dabble in Posh US. Since that doesn't require Canada Post labels, and obviously would help during this slow time. And so I wanted to ask you, take this opportunity, kind of talk about it a little bit, but also answer a couple questions that I have. Did you mention something about with Posh US, they requested or required you to submit some kind of a tax info or something so that you could get paid? Can you repeat what that was or get into some kind of detail on that?
Yeah, for sure. So there's a threshold set up where I think it's like $400 or $500. And when you hit that, they just shut your account down and verify that you have to give them they want tax information for a US citizen for the 1095 or whatever they get for their taxes, which would be similar to, I guess, probably a T4 here. I don't know.
Right.
But regardless, at that point, you're like, hey, listen, I'm not a US citizen. And you send them in your driver's license. This past time they asked me to update it, they actually wanted a bill that had my home address on it and my name. But that was just to verify who you are, and then you're exempt from that program. But they will hold your money and they'll let you sell stuff, but you can't get your money. But it's not that big of a deal. But here's the problem, though. So there's been a change with so there's no change with Poshmark, and there's no change with Stallion Express, but there's a change with the border and United States Postal Service. And I don't know what the exact issue is, but starting November 25th, Stallion Express is no longer going to accept third-party labels, which would be like a prepaid label from Poshmark, because it does not comply with whatever the border says has to happen for it to cross the border.
Oh.
But from what I understand from another friend who lives on the border, you can take it across yourself in the commercial lane. You wouldn't want to try to do that just in the regular border line because it is commercial. I guess that's part of it. But however that label is set up, there's something about that label that will get it tied up at the border and be a problem. And Stallion Express said that they were working with Poshmark to fix this issue, but that was end of October, and I haven't heard anything since, except for I think the 25th is the last day to send your shipments in. So I've just been sort of like waiting to see what happens. So yeah, so to answer your question, but then to also sort of maybe damper out the flame of you thinking about doing it, it's a bad time to think about it right now.
Yeah.
You're still allowed to sell as a Canadian. You can do everything, but you would still need a way to get the shipments across the border, and Stallion's not going to be the answer as of November 25th.
Okay. That is really good info. That's really good info, because I was thinking, you know what, I might just do that today.
Depop, though, I'm telling you, like, so Depop you can set up as a Canadian and just sell in Canadian dollars, and it feels a lot like Poshmark. Or you can set it up, depends how you want to do it. You can set it up as use your PO box from Stallion and set it up in American money and do it that way. I do it as mine is all in US funds, but it doesn't really matter. The only thing that's annoying about Depop as a Canadian, even if you are using your US address, is they do everything through PayPal if you're Canadian. Where if you're in the US, you can use Stripe or whatever, which I think is like attached to your bank. But
Price, yeah.
that'd be good.
PayPal's not too bad. It's a little annoying, but I don't think a lot of people really use PayPal these days, because it's just like, that was really cool 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I do still use it sometimes, but to have to like withdraw it back into your bank account and wait that, like, so it goes to PayPal and then you need to wait another day before you actually get it into your account. I can understand why that would be slightly annoying. It adds another step.
Yeah. I found some people on Depop too have been like, do you only accept PayPal? Like, I don't use that. And I'm like, unfortunately, that's all I can use. But
okay.
It might just be an alternative, right? If you were looking to get your foot in the door somewhere else, it's really easy to use. It feels a lot like most of the other platforms. There's a good amount of people on it, but like anything, I think you have to sort of build up a bit of a reputation before people want to buy from you. But
makes sense. Yeah, well, I'm definitely interested in the Posh US thing, but I'm going to have to wait and make sure that gets situated, because, so, I mean, we'll talk more about it, I'm sure, but the whole point of this was, now that I'm using Stallion Express as an alternative to Canada Post, now that's like, I'm halfway there basically to like, okay, well now I could use that cross-border service and sell on Posh US. So that was the next logical step for me, I thought, was, open up that store and tap into that market as well. But okay, well, we'll see what happens there by the 25th, and hopefully they get it sorted. It might even just be something like as as embedded as like an HS code or like, you know, that HS tariff code or whatever. Like I know I have to use that on eBay when I sell to the US. I have to go in when I buy my labels through eBay and put in the HS code 3926.20 for clothing, stuff like that. A lot of those things are probably built in and automated in other systems. You know, eBay makes you do that thing manually. A lot of other places probably don't. But maybe that's a case where Posh US doesn't have that built in for Canadian sellers because they're assuming it's all coming from the US. And so that's why shipping it over for those, like, you know, inbound tariff reasons or whatever, even if it's an exempt thing and there is no tariff on it, that code might be, I'm just speculating completely, just completely talking out of my ass here, but maybe it's something like that, right? It's easy to fix, just that the infrastructure doesn't exist inside their label system yet, right?
Yeah. I do remember in the email they sent out, it was said, it was something about the way a couple different companies, it might be like, one of them for sure is stamps.com, and that's where Poshmark US gets their labels from, apparently.
Okay.
But I can't remember. It did say in whatever it is like a little abbreviation thing, maybe even like what you're talking about. And I'm just like, because your hands are tied. I'm not like, well, how do I fix this? I can't fix it. They need to fix it so that we can use it. So it's not, I didn't really try to research it more than hopefully they fix this.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. For me, it's kind of a downer. So for my day-to-day finances, I don't really Posh US for me. When I make a sale on there, it goes into a US bank account. And yes, it gets claimed on my taxes and I pay income tax on that money because there's no way around that part of it. But it just stays in that US bank account and it's fun money for me. So if we go to just a cross-border shopping trip, or if we go to Disney or we go whatever, I just got US money in this account that I can use and I don't have to worry about exchange. So it's almost like a vacation fund for me. That's how I've looked at it since I started, because I've never took it out, never exchanged it back in Canadian dollars. So that's like, so I don't feel like a financial thing where I'm like, oh no, how am I going to pay my bills if that's not there? But it's kind of like, oh, there goes my fun money.
Well, yeah, it's still a bummer. I mean, you know, you're used to having that there, even if you don't need it per se.
Yep. Yeah. So like I said, it won't be the end of the world, but I'd certainly prefer to have it for sure.
Oh yeah, hey man, I'd take money over not money.
Yeah, for sure. So have you noticed sales tank at all on eBay with the strike?
I would say, yeah, I would say it's gone down. I mean, now my sales have been slower than usual, but I think it's still pretty apparent that the traffic is not there, even with, like, you know, I'm listing every day. I'm doing all those things that were driving the algorithm. And I saw a couple of weeks in a row where it was like, okay, this is working again. And I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Now eBay's working. I'm making sales. And then since this has been a slow week for sure.
Okay. So I've had back-to-back 2 really good weeks, but the 1 week was because of that receiver. Like, no question, that pushed me into some place I haven't been in months for payout. This past week, based off of smaller sales, and I think a little bit left over from the following payout that didn't get paid out to me, was another week where I've like doubled what I've been selling the last 6 months. This week, I think I'm on pace to be probably over $1,000 on eBay, just eBay, which is for me still really good. I mean, I know that lots of people talk about having huge weeks, but I think because my selling spread over different platforms, it doesn't all just come from eBay. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be close to another $1,000 week on eBay. So I don't know if that's just Q4. The other reason why I did think my sales aren't dying off is because I've moved most of my inventory to ebay.com, and it looks like it ships from New York. So there would be nobody potentially scared that I couldn't ship it out to them. So there maybe isn't that problem. Also, I would say 95% of my sales are going to the US right now too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good point about being on ebay.com, because they're just going to be seeing that as if it's a domestic shipment. You know, they're not thinking, oh, well, I don't really want to buy international right now. They got crazy stuff going on up there. Um, yeah, that's a good point, because it's just even the way it's presented to them, psychologically can make a huge difference. Now, that said, out of I think it was 8 orders I processed on Monday and then 5 this morning. So out of the 13 items I've bought labels for in the last 4 days, or whatever it was, on eBay, I'm willing to bet that 10 of those 13 were to the US. So, I don't know if that's affected me, or, maybe they just don't even know, right? Yeah, like it's a possibility they don't even know, like they're not even getting notified of potential delays from Canada. But yeah, I mean, so that hasn't slowed down too much, but I can definitely tell the amount of traffic is down. Like if I'm looking through the analytics, and I don't know if you ever go really deep dive into your like analytics on eBay and look at views and traffic and impressions and all that kind of stuff. I definitely do all the time, because I mean, that's basically my job, is just working with numbers like that. So when I see the last week is down 70% from where it was, the last couple of weeks, where things were on the rebound and not even where I thought I should be, and now it's back down 70%. To me, that seems like a pretty easy correlation. Like that's probably at least like the domestic views just going away,
Yeah, I know that does make quite a bit of sense. I have started to deep dive that a little bit more recently, only because I think I mentioned to you before, I pushed all of my my promotions to 5%, and I've been trying to watch to see how that's affected like views and stuff like that, and it's definitely in a positive way, which
Yeah.
is what I expected. What I'm anticipating is it dipping off and going the other way at some point, where it's like, well, now we're used to you giving us your money, we're going to start to just like pull it back.
Yeah, that was great. Nice 7.
Yeah. Maybe you have to try a nice number like 7. Exactly. No, five's enough.
Yeah, I can see that. Hey, that reminded me, when we were talking just now about, like, you mentioned about promotion and stuff like that. I was messing around with something last night on eBay, and I forget how I even got there. I think I was going to go and set up a promotion, like set up a sale or something, just to like try to drive some traffic again. And I realized that under the promotional manager tab, or whatever it is on the website, we have coupons in Canada now. When did that happen?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's rare right now that I go to .ca, but I don't know. That must be a new thing, because I haven't heard anybody even talk about it.
Like it still has like new in the box next to it. So I mean, sure, it means it's new, but like I don't know how new that is. But I mean, I'm sure I was in there a month ago, and it's one of the things I've talked about ever since I got on eBay. Like, man, this is so stupid. Why Canada doesn't have coupons? Like every other place in the world, I mean, maybe not every other region does, but like, US does. The UK does, Australia does. Like, I know plenty of other like major regions, you can send out coupons, and it's like, this is just so dumb. So, anyways, I went into just this full. I went into stupid mode last night and set up like 5 or 6 different coupons, and thought, okay, so this is what I'll send to this person. This is what, because I like that you can set them as private and only send them out to like past buyers as you want to. Or you can have public ones where, it'll display the sellers, giving 20% off of this coupon code for the next 3 weeks or something. So I'll probably do that instead of actually like setting up promotions and putting certain items on sale. Unless I want to target very specific items or inventory, I'll probably just run coupon codes to do like 20% off in the store for, 2 weeks or something. A lot less work. But yeah, it blew my mind. I didn't know it existed, and I was so happy about it. But now I've got way too many coupons on the go, and I need to like pare it down and just be like, okay, you need to pick something that makes sense and not get like 6 of these going at once.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that either. I definitely, even on .com, haven't really messed with them too much, but it is definitely an interesting way to try to promote a little differently, right?
Well, it is. And one of the things that Dave from ADH Dave has talked about in the past is like, so he makes those coupons and he sets them, and sometimes he'll send things out to people, but like normally he just has a coupon code in his store. And he's like, it's a good way of putting things on sale, but the reality is not everybody's going to use that coupon code. Not everybody's going to remember to put it in or notice it or apply it at checkout and get that discount. So like, it's like putting things on sale, but not everyone's going to take advantage of the sale. So you might not actually end up losing 20%. You might actually only, by the end of it have been out 17% or something like that. So it's just another way of thinking about it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll definitely take a better look at it. I've sort of took such a swing or like just a change in direction this last 2 weeks. So I've been trying to relist. I haven't relisted anything now for probably 5 days. I've been just listing new items, which is probably why my sales have been up, because the stuff that I'm listing is selling. But I'm just trying to make sure that I've flood as much new stuff into my store in this last quarter as possible, because I can always go back and relist and finish what I started. Or like, I'm probably more than halfway done my clothing. Most of my hard goods have already been moved to .com, but that's been spending so much time doing that, like just trying to get new listings up, and it's been like rewarding, but just a different change of pace for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Now that I'm listing every day, I have been, I've been not listening a ton every day because I want to make sure that I have enough to do something every day. So even though it's only like 3-4 items or something like that.
Yep.
But definitely those newer items, it seems like, are getting just a stupid amount of views. Like I have in the last 3 days sold 3 items same day as listing, which like that's not the trend for me anyway, especially where I'm only listing like, a handful of items. Like I could see if you were listing 10, 20 items every day, well, of course, you're probably going to sell one of them, right? But like, that's a pretty high success rate, 20 to 33% of my listings I put up every day sell the same day. Like that's crazy. I mean, we're not talking like huge items or, big money stuff. And I don't even think it's like that I'm super undervaluing it either and listing it way too low, and that's why it's selling. Because we're talking like a sweater that I'd list for $25, someone sends an offer for 20, and it's like, okay, cool. Like, or like a $40 item that I had listed for 50. It's not. So we're not talking like accepting really low offers or things that I've like clearly undervalued. But it's just strange to me how the algorithm can work. Like we just talked about how like overall views and impressions and everything for me are way down, but yet these new things are still getting like a huge boost at first. It's like first 6 hours or something, it's like they take over eBay. And then after that, it just goes away.
Yeah, I definitely feel what you're saying there. When you first list something, it's rare for me to get like, I have listed and sold stuff so quick before that I'm like, uh-oh. Right. Like I definitely didn't do that right. But for the most part, I find like it takes about an hour and then all of a sudden it just takes right off for me. I don't know why, but yeah, that's what I've been noticing recently too, is just that new items really take off quickly. And then if nothing happens, they fizzle out quickly too.
Yeah.
What's that?
We need to promote higher.
Yeah, exactly. So did you have a particular sale of the week this week?
I'm kind of thinking of 2 items.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'll just mention them both because neither of them are spectacular, but they're 2 of the same day sales that I had. So I was browsing through Value Village a couple weeks ago, and I don't like to browse through Value Village clothing and stuff too much because it can be a big waste of time. But I came across an Arc'teryx men's quarter zip, like, hiking outdoor lightweight jacket kind of thing. And, anybody who doesn't know Arc'teryx, I mean, it's money. Like, it is money. So I'm looking it over. And I'm like, okay, what's wrong with it? They only had it like, I think it was like $9 or something like that. And I was looking it over, and it did have a very, very small hole on one of the sleeves. So I was like, okay, I know I can still make good money with this. So I listed that for 50 and it sold for 40 the same day. If it didn't have the hole, I would have probably listed it at like 80. But I am not going to try to get greedy with like flawed items like that. You know, if I'm buying some of the hole and with the intent of selling it, like, okay, just I'll take your money. You're getting a deal, whatever. The other item was another brand that I almost never see. So to find Arc'teryx and then Cotopaxi, have you heard of them?
No.
Okay, so Cotopaxi is another sort of like outdoorsy kind of brand, you know, like your Patagonias, like your Arc'teryx, like your whatever else, or like an Ibex or something. And some of the stuff in Cotopaxi is like really, really high end, like merino wool, like outerwear and stuff like that. This particular item was just like a really lightweight windbreaker in a women's small, but it was like super color block, like it was blue, pink, and yellow and white, like very just vibrant 80s looking. And it wasn't huge money. That particular item was probably only about a 30 to 40 range. I did just sell it for 35 bucks same day as listing. You know, I would have paid about $7 for it, but it was just so cool to find two brands that's only the second time each that I've found those brands. And, you know, had they not been flawed or had it been like a slightly different item, it could have been worth like $100 plus. But yeah, anyway, I figured I'd mention them just because of the rarity and the fact that they went same day.
Yeah, it's rare that I find Arc'teryx as well. I got a sweater from one of my buddies who goes to the bins, who it's like a women's small. I do have it listed, but it's an odd color too. It will sell for decent money, I think, this winter, but it's not something I find when I'm out. I don't know if people don't donate it in this area, don't buy it in this area, but it's definitely valuable, like when you do see it.
Yeah. The only other Arc'teryx item I ever found was a men's vest, like a puffer vest. And it was really pilled, like really almost half ragged looking, honestly. I mean, it was intact, but like it was really pilly and just, it was well worn. And it still sold for $120.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna let you guess what this sold for, because this is
Okay.
right up your alley. So I'll describe it a little bit before you give me the answer. Okay, so Mega Man 1 from the attic pickup that I just did the beginning of the week or whenever that video came out. The game is in perfect condition, but the back, you know, the part that says caution or whatever it says in the back of it, has a tear in the graphic on the back. The front graphic's absolutely fine. The game works perfectly. So that's the condition issue, is just that the back sticker has got damage. Listed it, sold it the next day for full price. I got a lot of low price offers, which I was just like, goodbye. I'm like, I'm gonna let this sit here for a while.
Mega Man 1.
Yeah.
Just cartridge only, right?
With a Nintendo sleeve, like the black sleeve.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh man. I'm drawing a blank. I know that like I actually know the box value on those more than I know just the loose cart value on those. But I'm willing to bet Mega Man 1. I mean, that still has to be at least like an $80 to $100 game.
Yeah. So I got 75 USD, which winds up being, I think, like 104 or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. I think if it didn't have that little bit of damage, I think I could have got 140 Canadian.
Yeah.
But I had so many like $25, $30 offers. I think I got a couple $60 offers, and I might have countered at like 70. And then all of a sudden, ding.
Yeah.
Right.
Nice.
I'm like, I don't need to take a low ball offer. This game is definitely worth something.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. I love the Mega Man games. I'm just gonna go on a video game tangent here for a second. So Mega Man and Kirby, those were two series growing up that I just played the crap out of those games. And I remember like the first couple Mega Man games were actually really hard. Because like some of the jumps you'd have to make or some of the things you'd have to do, you had to be like so super precise with that like crappy old Nintendo controller. But I remember very vividly one night, I was probably about like 8 years old. Me and my friend who lived in the same apartment building, we stayed up all night and we beat Mega Man and Mega Man 2 in the same night, but it took us like hours to actually beat each one because we would get so far and then die and just start over. And I don't think I've ever beaten either of them again, like since then. So we're talking 33 years or something.
Wow. I remember doing that with in public school with a buddy with Zelda, and it was the first time that I stayed up all night. And I compare it now to probably feeling hungover. I felt so bad, my eyes burned, and then when you did want to sleep, I couldn't sleep because I stayed. My body wasn't used to staying up that long. It
Yep.
felt so bad. I would do it over again because we had a lot of fun trying to beat Zelda, which we didn't do, and somebody turned it off, and I think we lost everything. But yeah, those were great games. Hard,
Yeah,
very hard.
definitely. You're talking about the very first Zelda, like the Nintendo Zelda. Yeah, I was just talking about that this morning actually with my girlfriend, and talking about how it has been since I was a kid since I played that game. And how I need to run through it soon. So it's funny that you bring it up. I think I know what I'm doing. I think I know what I'm doing this weekend. Yeah. I'm running through the original Legend of Zelda for NES.
Yeah, I might have. So I got a couple of those little mini Nintendo systems. One's like a retro, just Nintendo games. I bet you it's on there. It's which one I mean? They're just like they look like 8-bit Nintendos, and they come with the two controllers. I got one of those, and the other one I think has like Nintendo, Sega, and something else on it. I definitely want to. That's basically my weekend plans. I plan on like seeing what's on these things.
Yeah, I've got the unofficial Nintendo one, which has like 620 games on it, which is basically 20 playable games and 600 just random mods of like it's Super Mario World, but it's Sonic, and the levels are from Kirby. It's like, what? Who put this together? But some of them are pretty fun for sure.
Yeah. Do you have any ideas about how long? So like this is obviously just going to be a guess, but do you have any ideas how long you think Poshmark Canada is just going to like play the waiting game? Is there going to be a point where they're like, okay, we need to cancel these, or you think they're just going to like hold out as long as people are willing to wait?
I mean, they're a business and they make their money from the fees from sales. If sales aren't happening and business isn't flowing, they don't make money. I imagine already after not even one full week that Poshmark Canada has suffered significant losses. Like, I can't see them wanting to go a full month without income.
No, because what do they do, right? So they hold the money from the sale, but they're just not. I don't know. Like last week, I think I do have 3 Poshmark sales for the entire week since the strike. That's very low for me. And I don't anticipate. I've still been trying to do things to get sales. Like I'm still running automated auctions using Sidekick tools. I'm doing all those things. I'm still, when I list to eBay, I'm still listing to Poshmark, even though that it's, can't send me a label. So I'm still treating it like it's a platform that I want to sell on. But I don't know. It hasn't showed me much love for sure.
Yeah, I mean they're gonna have to figure something out soon because their entire business model depends on Canada Post. So if they're not willing to introduce a secondary option, I mean, I don't know. Like, but I mean, then again, like the way they're set up and the way their entire like process flows, how can they really introduce another option unless like? So here's the only thing I can think of is, all right, so let's say they let me buy a label and send it off to, to whomever, through Stallion Express or whatever else, and maybe that label only cost me $8. Maybe it cost me the exact $12.50 that they're charging. I mean, how are they going to get that information and then release that $12.50 that the buyer paid for shipping to me? They would have to like manually select any shipments or any orders, and instead of them keeping that money, actually it went to Canada Post. Like Canada Post has already been paid.
Paid label, yeah.
So like, what do? They void that label out through Canada Post, so they get the money back at Poshmark, but then that becomes part of the payout to the seller. Like, that's just crazy. You can't, because that's just going to be a lot of manual overrides. Like that's mistakes and mistakes and mistakes waiting to happen. I don't know. I don't know how they do it.
I don't know. Yeah, because like you say, they're all in on Canada Post, and I'm sure their software is built for that as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Without an alternative, they're gonna have a rough go at making any money, just like everybody else, I guess.
I wonder if, as a result of this, now it could be that they have a contract with Canada Post that's, to a certain period of time, but I wonder, like, what kind of increases we'll see. Because wasn't Poshmark Canada shipping $13.49 like a year ago, and then they were able to knock it down to $12.49? Like $13.49 was already really good.
Yeah,
I think it was just earlier this year they dropped it $1. So maybe that was the new contract. I'd be interested to see what happens in 2025 if it's up to like $15 or something to help like recoup Canada Post losses or something. I don't know.
You would think so, but I would hope Canada Post is smart enough they might have to eat some losses. If they want people's business back, no one's going to pay more money to use their service because it's already one of the most expensive ones. Is it one of the most reliable ones? Probably. Yeah. I mean, people are well aware of what it is, and there are a lot of courier services that people are just hearing the names of for the first time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think unless they're willing to give people deals, people who've maybe already moved on to something else, maybe are fine with moving on with something else. Obviously, with Poshmark, it's a different story, but with other selling platforms where you have control over the shipping,
yeah,
you're not going to pay more just to go back to Canada Post.
No, and it's going to be really hard for me, assuming everything works out really well. So I guess this is a good point for me to jump in and talk about how the first couple Stallion Express orders have gone for me real quick. Okay, so I sent off my first batch of orders, bought the labels, no problem. It didn't take me all that long to figure it out, get used to the dashboard, get used to how to do it at all. So I sent the first box out on Monday, and it got delivered to Stallion Express today. We're filming on a Thursday, so it's 3 days. And then hopefully by tomorrow, they're scanning those and then the tracking updates in eBay itself. So I still don't know for sure that everything has gone properly and that everything's going to be fine. But I'll know by the time this podcast comes out. But assuming that everything goes well and they don't lose these orders and they start tracking properly in eBay and there's no issues, it's going to be really hard for me to go back to eBay, I think. I mean, buying my labels, my Canada Post labels through eBay and doing that and having to run to the post office all the time and charging more for shipping, which probably means less sales and stuff. The only thing I can see is there's probably going to be lots of times where letter mail on something super cheap makes sense, or maybe a flat rate box makes sense because it's going to a Callowit or something, and then I'm going to Canada Post for those items. But yeah, I don't know. It seems too good to be true. So I'm hoping nothing goes wrong and that it all works out and that this is my path forward.
Yeah, for the most part, I find with Stallion Express that it's a lot of the rates are really good, and the ones that are questionable are still on par with what Canada or what eBay labels are going to charge anyway. Yeah. So it's not going to be a huge discount on everything, but there's a huge discount on things that are very expensive that you'd be like, oh, how can I ship this for $6? This would have cost me $12, $13, $14 on eBay. And there's a lot of those and they add up.
Yeah, there is. And, especially for domestic ones, and I talked about this a little bit, it seems like anything that I sell on eBay where I've been using Canada Post rates to calculate shipping for buyers, I'm probably going to save on any situation where that happens. And that's where I'm going to make enough to cover any additional costs from sending the box of UPS up to Stallion Express or whatever. But I have already started on my new listings to not use calculated shipping for Canada. and to just start putting in some flat rates. And it's really early, and I may like regret that a little bit. But my philosophy is, you know, if I'm say I'm doing like $9.99 flat rate, or even like up to $14.99 flat rate, and I'm making a couple of dollars here or there, then in those cases where I do lose something, it doesn't feel so bad. But I did realize, or remember a couple of days ago that I can also check on netparcel.ca. I don't know if you've ever used that or if you've ever looked on there, but like I was looking at something, you know, because I was checking some rates and thinking, well, how much is it going to cost if I need to send something through to Stallion Express, but it's actually coming back my way and being delivered to Nova Scotia? Like, maybe then it makes sense to go through Canada Post or something. And while it probably still would be cheaper through Stallion than Canada Post to send it to Mississauga and back to Nova Scotia than to go from Canada Post down the street, the better option is check out NetParcel, because, you know, Purelator might have a 70% discount. It'll go for $12, or, you know, and my third-party shipping company that's just down the road from me, who will pick up at my door, does Purelator, UPS, FedEx Ground, Canpar, and like 2 other ones that I don't remember right now. So like a lot of times, if it doesn't look like I have any good options, NetParcel will actually be the good option.
Yeah, that's awesome. The one thing we were talking earlier, I was going to say to you, and then I might go up, well, we're going to be talking this afternoon or like right now. Mm-hmm. The one, when you're shipping stuff into Stallion Express, it's the big, bulky, heavy items that wind up biting you for those orders, right? Like those small T-shirts and blouses, whatever, that type of stuff winds up, that's where your saving is. Like, you don't have too many like VCR, TVs, big bulky items, right, that you list on a regular basis. Is there anything like that that would be a problem? I guess if it was, you just have to find an alternate and maybe not ship that in with your order. But those are would be a problem, I think, are the heavy items.
Well, I've got a few of those types of things listed. I mean, it's definitely a minority of things I've got listed to eBay. But again, I also have those things set to charge calculated Canada Post shipping.
Or you're covered, yeah.
So, I mean, I've got to be covered, right? So, you know, even if, like, because, I mean, sending a VCR from here to Saskatchewan is probably going to be like $35 through Canada Post. So, I mean, I'm definitely going to be able to save enough, even if it ends up making my UPS box to Stallion cost a bunch, you know, because it's so big. You know, if I'm sending with other orders and stuff, I'm definitely going to break even at least. But then again, that also might be a really good candidate for NetParcel.
Yeah, I know myself, any weeks that I plan on maybe not making a second trip to Stallion, if I do sell something like a little TV or something like that, though, anything that's got weight to it, it's like, oh, instantly this is going to be like, instead of being like a box for like $12 to $15 to $20, all of a sudden it's like a $50 shipment. So I'm like, oh, you know, can be a problem.
The only thing I was thinking about with those really big bulky items is, you know, because I was talking about going in and changing some of my listings to not calculate Canada Post, and like maybe it means that I'm not going to sell some of these big bulky items if people are being charged that much money. But I definitely, I'm a little bit more cautious in lowering those or doing flat rate on those. So, you know, maybe if somebody sees I've got a $60 item, but it's $35 in shipping, I'm more likely to take lower offers, because then I can do kind of like if I get a $30 offer on a $60 listing, that's $30 off. But then I can like kind of ask them like, oh, hey, like where are you located? I'll do a little, you know, rate check here and double check the shipping or whatever. And I can, you know, prompt me to like see what my options are. And then maybe I can work with them and be like, yeah, you know what, I will accept your offer because I'm going to be able to ship that for less than, you know, it's calculating here in eBay or something, or maybe, well, I can't quite do that, but I could do this kind of an offer because it'll cost this much to ship. And yeah, I think I'd just be a little bit scared to like flat rate VCRs for $14.99, which is probably around what you're putting them in as, because you're so central. But
yeah, well, I think the takeaway here for anybody is it's good to have options. If you're, I think if you're just relying on Canada Post, you can see and you're feeling the crunch, you're feeling the stress of not knowing what you're going to do. This is 100% why, even if it's not Stallion Express, you should at least research to see what's available in your area, because not everybody's the same. Not everybody is maybe willing to ship their items in, but there are alternatives, and you should definitely figure out what they are in your area.
Yep. And take it from me, somebody who lives in very rural Nova Scotia, like one of the worst places to be when something like this happens, a global or a postal strike. Like, yeah, I've got options. So chances are you do as well.
And that's going to wrap up this week's podcast. I think people are really starting to feel the crunch with this Canada Post strike. How long will it go? I'm not really sure. We'll talk about it again next week. If you guys like videos like this, please give it a big thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing for more content. We'll see you guys soon.